Today, I'm going to talk about narcissism. It's one of the personality disorders that I see a lot in my practice. Now, narcissistic people can actually have some positive elements to their personality. They can be leaders, they can be driven, they are often confident, they're risk takers. So there is such a thing as adaptive narcissism. But sometimes it becomes dysfunctional. Sometimes it becomes unhealthy. So what causes narcissism? Is it genetics or is it learning? It's both. It's truly both of those. Some would say it's more genetics. Others would say it's more our upbringing and our childhood experiences. I personally believe that our learning and our childhood experiences have a significant impact. Some people grew up in households where there were no rules, there were no boundaries. Maybe their parents overvalued them and they gave them a ton of admiration and praise. And they have no consequences for their actions. That would be the ingredients for a budding narcissist. Or maybe the individual grew up with abuse. Verbal, emotional abuse, maybe physical abuse. That can also be a factor. Or maybe they grew up with trauma. Not just abuse, but other forms of trauma that has impacted their lives. Maybe they were in an environment where they were powerless and helpless. And they vowed as adults to become in complete control of their environment. They decided that the only one that they can rely on or trust is themselves. So they block out others. They compartmentalize any emotions that they might have, and they only focus on serving themselves. So maybe it was a survival mechanism. It was the way in which they learned to cope with a bad situation. But as an adult, that can be very damaging and destructive to relationships. In my practice, I see a bunch of people that are powerful, successful, that are in charge, they're leaders, and many of them have characteristics of narcissism. Some of them have full-blown disorders. So can you live with someone like that? Can you be in a marriage with someone like that? Can that person change? It's a question I get asked all the time. Oh, I'm in the change business, so I believe people can change. How much change is the key? And is it enough to sustain a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage? I find that even a little change can make a huge difference. And that's part of what I do for a living, is help people make changes through awareness, insight, and strategies. So what is it about a narcissist that makes them difficult to live with or be around? Well, for one, they often lack empathy. They lack understanding and awareness of other people's pain, of other people's feelings. They have very little compassion for others. You see, it's all about them. They love admiration, adoration, attention, and they feel they're special. In fact, many of them feel entitled, that the rules are different for them. Obviously, that creates a problem for relationships. Not only do they lack compassion, but they lack humility. Many of them are arrogant and will go to great lengths to get their needs met at the expense of others. So what do you do with these individuals? How do you deal with them? How do I work with them? And what's my focus in treating these individuals? Well, first and foremost, my job is to make them aware of how these characteristics negatively affect their lives. Often I focus with them on emotional intelligence, which is raising their level of awareness about their emotions and the emotions of the people around them. That's huge, because a lot of these people have very little emotional awareness, sensitivity, and intelligence. The second thing is helping them acquire some humility. And how does one do that? One is by acknowledging wrongdoing, acknowledging flaws and weaknesses in oneself. Many narcissists are insecure, and their narcissism is really just a facade. It's just a cover. But to be able to acknowledge one's weaknesses helps build humility. Also, asking for help. Being able to ask others for help is another good way of building humility. I encourage people with this personality type to find someone that will hold them accountable. Find a close friend. Find someone who's going to call you on your stuff. So important for a narcissist to have someone that will hold them accountable. In addition, it helps for narcissists to be able to serve others because they're so used to serving themselves. They're so used to being self-serving. To step out of themselves and use their time, their treasures, and their talents to serve others is a big change. I also would encourage them to embrace the concept that there is a power greater than you. It's not all about you. Being able to relate to others requires a certain level of humility and a certain level of comfort with yourself. And recognizing that you don't have all the answers and everything is not going to go your way. To be able to compromise, to be able to do for others and not just think of yourself. All of those things can help a person change. My challenge for you is if you have any of the characteristics that I described, even a little bit, and you notice that those characteristics are having a negative effect on your relationships, then take hold of some of the suggestions that I made. Decide today that you're going to do things a little differently. And see how things change for you. People need people. In order to be connected to others, it's so important that you're aware of what their needs are. Get out of yourself and focus on the people around you. People that actually do love you and care about you. Until next time, Dr. Tony Ferretti.